In 2026, a significant trend is emerging. More countries are drastically tightening their borders and reducing the intake of foreign workers, a shift that is sadly impacting Filipinos more than ever before. These new restrictions, ranging from stricter visas and labor bans to full-scale immigration crackdowns, are unfortunately putting thousands of aspirations on hold. Filipinos have long been essential in building economies and caring for families worldwide. However, the pressing question now is, what happens when once open doors begin to close? This analysis reveals the 10 countries expected to implement severe restrictions on Filipino workers in 2026 and the key reasons driving these new policies. It's crucial to pay close attention to the final country on the list, as the changes there are projected to affect the most Filipinos globally. This is a critical wake-up call that cannot be ignored. 10. Japan. Japan was once a prime destination for Filipino workers, particularly under the Technical Intern Training Program, TITP. However, in 2026, Japan is significantly tightening its regulations. The government now mandates higher Japanese language proficiency, stricter qualifications, and tougher screening for foreign trainees. Consequently, many applicants who would have previously been accepted are now being rejected. A major contributing factor is Japan's increasing reliance on automation and robotics. With an aging population and a shrinking workforce, Japan is heavily investing in machines to replace low-skilled labor. Robots are taking over roles in factory lines, warehouses, and even some caregiving sectors, jobs traditionally accessible to many Filipinos. Due to these changes, the overall demand for foreign workers, including Filipinos, is gradually declining. Japan is actively prioritizing highly skilled professionals over trainees or low-skilled labor. While the door to Japan is not entirely shut for Filipinos, it is becoming increasingly difficult to enter. 9. Canada. Canada has historically represented a dream destination for many Filipinos, known for its high salaries, peaceful communities, and a clear pathway to permanent residency. Nevertheless, reaching this dream is becoming considerably harder in 2026. Due to an overwhelming number of applications from foreign workers and international students, Canada is introducing stricter immigration reforms. Applicants should now expect fewer available slots, tougher requirements, and longer processing times. The government refers to this shift as its population stabilization policy. With migrant growth outpacing the system's capacity to handle it, Canada faces mounting pressure on its housing, healthcare, and job availability. To control this rapid surge, they are cutting down on the number of foreign workers and limiting student visas. As Filipinos constitute one of Canada's largest migrant groups, the community will be heavily affected by these policy changes. The door to Canada remains open, but it is no longer wide open. The application process has become more competitive, expensive, and demanding than ever before. For Filipinos still aspiring to live in Canada, the question is whether they are ready for this new reality in 2026. 8. South Korea. South Korea has been one of the most popular destinations for Filipino workers under the Employment Permit System, EPS. In 2026, however, South Korea is becoming more cautious and selective. Due to a rise in cases of overstaying and illegal work among foreign laborers, the government is tightening its screening process and imposing stricter rules for incoming workers, especially those in the manufacturing sector. The South Korean government aims to protect its labor system and prevent abuse. Therefore, they are now focusing on workers with clean records, stronger credentials, and higher compliance. Instead of increasing opportunities, they are reducing the number of approved applicants and prioritizing countries with lower violation rates. This means more Filipinos may encounter rejections or longer waiting times. The door to South Korea is still open, but only for those who meet tougher standards, with fewer slots, stricter monitoring, and greater competition. Many Filipinos who once saw South Korea as a reliable opportunity now have cause to reconsider. In 2026, entering South Korea is no longer just about applying. It is about proving one is highly compliant, fully qualified, and poses zero risk to their system. 7. Kuwait. For years, Kuwait has been a top destination for Filipino domestic workers, offering higher salaries and the chance to provide a better life for their families. Yet, the promise of opportunity has been overshadowed by a dark history of abuse, overwork, unpaid salaries, and heartbreaking stories of exploitation that have shocked the Philippines. These repeated incidents have created a diplomatic storm between the two nations, compelling Kuwait to restrict access for Filipino workers. Because of these persistent issues, Kuwait and the Philippines have entered a recurring cycle of ban-lift, particularly affecting domestic workers. Tensions escalated following high-profile cases involving the deaths of Filipino workers that gained worldwide attention. As a result, both governments have struggled to find a long-term solution, and Kuwait has become more defensive and selective, especially when Filipinos file more complaints than other nationalities under their visa system. In 2026, Kuwait is expected to remain stricter, potentially slamming the brakes harder on Filipino deployment, especially for household service workers. With the kafala system still in effect, many believe Filipinos are at a greater risk compared to other migrant groups. Unless a stable and lasting labor agreement is reached between the two countries, Kuwait will likely continue closing its doors, forcing thousands of Filipinos to seek safer opportunities elsewhere. 6. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has long been the primary destination for Filipino workers, particularly in construction, hospitality, and household service jobs. For decades, millions of OFWs, overseas Filipino workers, were instrumental in building the kingdom's economy, from roads and skyscrapers to hotels and oil facilities. However, the landscape is now rapidly changing. Under Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia is heavily pushing to reduce its reliance on foreign labor, and Filipinos are among those directly affected by these sweeping reforms. Central to this shift is the Saudization policy, also known as the Natakat program, which mandates that companies replace foreign workers with Saudi nationals. The government aims to reserve more jobs for locals, particularly in sectors like retail, HR, administration, and transport, industries where many Filipinos previously thrived. Consequently, thousands of expatriates, including Filipinos, have lost jobs, faced non-renewal of contracts, or struggled to secure new work visas as companies prioritize hiring Saudis to avoid penalties. Due to these strict labor nationalization measures, 2026 could see even tighter restrictions for OFWs hoping to work in Saudi Arabia. While Filipinos will still be needed in certain fields like healthcare and technical sectors, opportunities in many other industries are quickly diminishing. With Saudi Arabia determined to put its own citizens first, more Filipinos may soon be forced to seek work in other countries or risk being left behind by a system that is rapidly closing in on foreign workers. 5. Hong Kong. For many years, Hong Kong has been a key destination for Filipino workers, especially domestic helpers seeking stable income and clear labor protections. Yet, as 2026 approaches, that door is gradually narrowing due to an economic slowdown and rising unemployment among local residents. The Hong Kong government and many employers are now prioritizing local workers over foreign hires. Another significant reason is the declining demand for domestic helpers. More households are cutting costs, opting for part-time local services, or switching to automated home tools and smart appliances. As a result, job openings for domestic workers are shrinking. When positions do become available, employers are significantly more selective, raising standards and tightening requirements that directly impact Filipino applicants. If this trend persists, Filipinos seeking work in Hong Kong will face fiercer competition, limited opportunities, and tougher qualifications in 2026 and beyond. What was once a reliable destination for thousands of OFWs is now becoming harder to access, compelling many Pinoys to explore other countries for a better life. 4. United States. For decades, the United States has represented the ultimate dream destination for millions of Filipinos, a place symbolizing opportunity, freedom, and the promise of a better life. However, by 2026, the American dream is becoming harder to attain. With the possible return of stricter immigration policies under a Trump administration, the U.S. is expected to tighten its borders once again, affecting visa applicants, Filipino workers, and even longtime immigrants hoping for a fresh start. One of the most significant concerns is the crackdown on visa approvals, asylum cases, and undocumented workers. Under these tougher rules, applications will face heavier scrutiny, longer processing times, and a higher chance of denial, particularly for those without strong financial, employment, or sponsorship ties. This means more Filipinos could be blocked at the entry point or, worse, face deportation if they fail to meet new immigration standards. If these policies are implemented, thousands of Filipino families in America may be separated, and many OFWs could lose their chance to work or migrate to the U.S. The country that once symbolized hope for so many Filipinos is now becoming one of the hardest to enter. For countless Pinoys still dreaming of the American life, 2026 might be the year the door begins to close. 3. Australia. Australia has long been a favored destination for Filipinos, especially students hoping to study, work, and eventually build a new life through permanent residency, PR. But in 2026, that pathway is becoming tougher than ever. With new student visa reforms and tighter work restrictions, Australia is establishing stronger barriers for those aiming for a long-term future in the country. One of the biggest changes is the crackdown on the education to PR route. For years, many foreign students, including Filipinos, used student visas as a crucial stepping stone to residency. Now, the Australian government is raising financial requirements, limiting work hours, and tightening post-study work permits. Their objective is clear. They want fewer low-skilled migrants and more highly qualified workers who directly align with Australia's labor priorities. Because of these reforms, fewer Filipinos may be able to study, work, or settle in Australia starting in 2026. What was once seen as a welcoming land of opportunity is now becoming harder to access. For many Filipino students and workers, the Australian dream may soon demand a higher price than ever before. 2. Qatar. Following the FIFA World Cup, Qatar's labor landscape began a dramatic transformation. The country that once welcomed thousands of low-wage migrant workers, including many Filipinos, is now shifting its focus. Instead of mass hiring, Qatar is prioritizing high-skilled and certified professionals, reducing opportunities for low-skilled foreign workers starting in 2026. Today, employers in Qatar increasingly prefer applicants with technical qualifications, licenses, and specialized training. With the rise of automation, digital systems, and stricter industry standards, many of the manual and entry-level jobs once dominated by OFWs are slowly disappearing. As requirements become tougher and screenings become stricter, more Filipinos are being filtered out before they even arrive. If this trend continues, fewer Filipinos will be able to work and stay in Qatar in the coming years. The very country that relied on the strength and dedication of OFWs is now closing its doors to low-wage workers in favor of a more skilled labor force. For many Pinoys, 2026 marks a turning point. They must adapt and upgrade their skills, or be forced to seek opportunities elsewhere. 1. United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has long been one of the top destinations for Filipinos, particularly nurses, caregivers, and healthcare workers seeking a stable career and a brighter future. However, in 2026, the UK is imposing stricter immigration thresholds and significantly higher salary requirements, making it harder for many Filipinos to qualify for work visas and long-term opportunities. What used to be a promising career path is now becoming one of the toughest to enter. Under the new rules, applicants must meet higher income standards, stricter employer sponsorships, and tighter background checks. For Filipino nurses, caregivers, and entry-level workers, this means that if their job offer or salary does not meet the new requirement, their visa will be denied, regardless of their skills or experience. The UK government's primary goal is to reduce the number of foreign workers and prioritize locals, even in sectors where Filipinos have historically played a vital role. Because of these changes, thousands of Filipinos hoping to work in the UK may have to delay, re-qualify, or give up their plans entirely. The country that once welcomed Filipino healthcare workers with open arms is now closing its doors to many of them. For countless Pinoys who dreamed of building a life in the United Kingdom, 2026 is a painful reminder that even the most stable opportunities can disappear overnight. That concludes the list of the 10 countries expected to implement severe restrictions on Filipinos in 2026. The world is evolving rapidly, making it more critical than ever to stay informed.